This is Our Rough Draft, a podcast, real talk for real relationships.
Welcome to Our Rough Draft, where we share real stories from marriage, work, life, and the adventures along the way. We'll laugh, maybe get real, and hopefully help you spark some new conversations in your own life.
I'm Denise, the wild, emotional one who loves words and big ideas.
And I'm Tim. I'm the practical level one who fixes what she dreams up.
That is true. And this is Our Rough Draft, where we share the stories we're still living. Welcome in.
Welcome.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Good. Long week.
Long week, yeah. A 4-day week, but still a long week.
This was the 4-day week?
Yeah, I know it felt longer, but...
Goodness me. I had pneumonia, so I feel like I lost a couple days.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer on a holiday week. Oh,
yeah,
well.
It was a rough weekend for you.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it. This week we are talking about parenting. And so what's been going on in the parenting world this week?
Well, I think that we are demonstrating that you can still parent from afar, as 2 of our 3 kids are no longer living at home and are in different parts of the country doing different things. And we are still involved, still helping via text message, via FaceTime, via phone call, different than when they were still at home, mostly about providing a sounding board and advice versus some of the other ways that we parented in the past, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Was this the week that I went to sleep and you guys had like 87 text messages when I woke up the next day because of the football game?
Yes.
So group chat is a big part of our parenting style right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, let's get into talking about parenting. Really, for us, we always thought we wanted to be parents.
Mm-hmm.
And we dated for a while, got married, and then had Thatcher right away. What, I guess to start with, let's introduce the kids. Let's talk about who we're talking about.
Well, we have 3 boys. Some of you know that, some of you don't. So 3 boys, oldest is named Thatcher, middle child is named Cooper, and the youngest is Mason. So they range from currently 23, 21, and 16. So a little bit of a gap between number 2 and number 3.
Yeah. That was due to Iraq, brought to you by the country of Iraq. And Dick Cheney and all of that. So what do you feel like was your expectation about what having kids would be like versus how it has been?
That's a good question. I don't know if I had a lot of expectations going in other than being nervous about being a first-time parent, which I hope is fairly normal for a lot of people. I thought it was going to be difficult at times. I thought it was going to be joyful. I thought it was going to be everything that it's been. So I feel like it actually met my expectations or is still meeting my expectations. And I think there's maybe a subtle, small part of me that thought your job is to raise them and get them out of the house. But as a parent, like we just discussed, you're never done.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they're physically with you or not. So I think that's maybe one of the realities that was slightly different than maybe what I thought going into it.
For sure. And we've talked about family dynamics a little bit on here. I had the solo episode about family dynamics and how my family is all in. So
Yes.
I never had the expectation that our kids wouldn't be a big part of our lives, but I can see how that might be different for you and your experience. I also think that for me, one of the things I worry about is having 3 boys. It's very easy for families to fall into that routine that once you get married, you start doing stuff with the woman's side of the family. It seems to be a trend, and I saw it in my own family, and I don't want that because I have 3 boys. So I would like them to want to hang out with us, in addition to their additional families, if that happens along the way.
Yeah.
When that happens along the way. Yeah. I was thinking about when we first I was thinking about our relationship and when we first had kids and what our expectation would be for our relationship with the kids and then our relationship with each other when we had kids.
Mm.
So it was always important to us that this relationship was primary
Yep.
and that our relationship with them was then secondary. Big important secondary, not like down the road
Right,
secondary.
like 1A.
Yeah. But that we really worked on that. And also that we really nurtured their relationships with each other.
Yeah.
And so for me right now, looking at their relationships with the older two living across the country from each other, but still really being best friends just makes my heart so happy.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very intentional thing. I think we constantly talk about it. We constantly talk about the family of five. We constantly talk about the family dynamic and the fact that these are your people. This is your support system. And not that there aren't others out there.
Right.
I mean, there's obviously going to be significant others. There's going to be other families. There's going to be other people, friends, coworkers, et cetera, that are their support system as well. We always want them to have that base to come back to. And I think, to pat ourselves on the back a little bit, I feel like we so far have done a good job with that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think it was harder for Cooper and Mason when they were living together most recently when Coop was finishing up college and Mason was in high school. That was a rougher time, but they still like each other and they still communicate. But right now, Mason and Thatcher are closer than I think Mason and Cooper are. But
I think to that point, I feel like the three of them are defining what that relationship
mm,
looks like to each of them, like each of them with each of the others. And I think that that's exactly what we would want. We want them to be close and feel like they have family, but they still, as human beings, get to decide what those relationships are like, get to decide how they interact with each other. We haven't forced that on them. We haven't tried to control what that is.
right.
I don't feel.
Yeah. I remember when they were little, I think you were probably gone because that's part of the
That'll
story.
be a theme coming up later.
It can be the theme now. So we had Thatcher and moved into a cute little house in Duval and decided it was time to have kind of a second child at the same time that the army came calling and you were going to deploy to Iraq with that Iraq war. So we got a Cooper and you left. And Cooper will bring it up just like that. He didn't leave because Cooper came. He left because he had to deploy. We are very fortunate that he got to be here and home for the first 2 weeks of Cooper's life and then really deployed for 18 months at that point.
Mhm,
I can't imagine what it had to have been like because going from one kid to two kids is big.
mhm,
And then being gone for the first year and a half of Cooper's life. So you went from having one kid
yep,
to coming home and having two toddlers.
yep.
What was that like?
It was mind blowing. I mean, he was a completely different human being when I came home. And a human being that I felt like I really didn't know. And that was scary and it was difficult. And I think it challenged, you go back and think about the expectations or the reality or the perception you have. And I think it challenged my expectations or my perception of what it meant to be a father.
Hmm.
To build a relationship, you have to be there. And you build the relationship by getting to see them all along the way and to, be there for all the moments, et cetera. And I wasn't there for 18 months. And so there was a whole 18 months of him becoming his own separate human that I just wasn't around for and it scared me.
Yeah.
It made me worried that I wouldn't be able to build a relationship.
Yeah. And I think we talked about that when we had Thatcher, right? Like it is, I think, for somebody who doesn't have younger siblings, didn't have cousins, that you would hang around when you were older and be around babies, it was new for you
Mhm.
to be around kids. I babysat, I had younger siblings,
Yeah.
and so I knew what kids did. And so once Thatcher was old enough to really start interacting with you and playing, that relationship really took off.
Mhm.
And you didn't get that with Cooper.
Right.
So then it's like a double loss
Yep.
because you're like, I know how to do this and I'm not here to do it.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, yeah. So I remember I was going to say back in that time, having the two boys and just myself, I remember like purposefully asking Thatcher to check on Cooper. Like, can you go in and check on Cooper? Can
Mm.
you get him up from his nap? Because I was working on building their bond.
Mm, mhm.
Man, that's come back and
Bit you?
more than once because I'm like, why do they like being around each other more than they like being around me? Like, it's a little sad sometimes.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's exactly what we want.
Yeah, and I think that, again, going back to the intentionality of it, I think it was important for us to make sure that they felt like they had support outside of their parents.
Yeah.
So there's things, and we all know this, there's things that you can talk to your parents about, there's things that you don't wanna talk to your parents about, not necessarily, anything that you have to hide, it's just that you relate to adults differently than you do to people close to your own age, and I think they needed that. Sometimes they didn't find what they needed in, other people around them, friends or whatever, and so I think it was important for them to have each other in that regard. So I think that, as weird as it is, we weren't trying to push them away. We were really trying to kind of push them together.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about stories about the boys. Do you have anything that stands out to you about any of the three of them when they were little that's just quintessential Thatcher or Cooper or Mace? While you're thinking, I have my Mason one.
Tell me.
So Mason is a little bit younger than the other two and just he's just a riot. Like he was a riot as a kid.
Mhm.
Like as a little kid. He was funny all the time. And the two things that stand out for me is one, three-ish, I think. He loved that song. I'm sexy and I know it. And this kid would strut around and sing it, and there's a little video that every time it comes up on Facebook, I watch the whole thing
Yep.
because he just like, "I'm sexy and I know it," and he just, like, hits the notes and, like, the attitude is over the top. And then the other one is how he kept up with the brothers. And so in that like same video, I think I see him walking down those stairs into the family room and grabbing Wii Sports Resort.
Mhm.
And he had a little trampoline and he would bounce and bounce and bounce so that the bar that saw him
The
there,
motion
yeah,
capture or whatever.
he would be on it. So this little guy would be running and hurdles and all of this. And he just like, we would all sit there and just laugh at how funny he was.
Made me tired watching him.
Yeah. But that's just Mason. Like he was just big and bold and funny
Yeah.
from an early age.
Yeah. I think when I think about the boys, like, those moments are yes to all of that. I think of the boys in terms of pictures that I think capture just who they are. I think about there's 2 that I think about with Thatcher. There's the one where, he was playing baseball, like, I think right when we moved to Redmond. He was like, maybe it was an all-star game or something, but the one where he fielded the
Yeah.
ball, I think he was playing short, and he, jumped up in the air to make the throw, and somebody captured him.
Oh, no. Photo by Kristen
Kristen
Gibson.
Gibson, gotcha. Um, Jumped up in the air to make the throw, like, that's just a Thatcher moment, like, the joy, the love of baseball. Uh, and I think the other one was when he was playing soccer, and it was after a game, and he was walking away with, I think Berkeley was there,
Sam.
Spencer, Darrick, yeah, I think Sam was there, and he jumped up in the air, and he was doing that pose, and, like, those are pictures. Cooper is when he was running away from the wave down in San Diego. I think maybe you guys went to La Jolla, and you caught him, like, pointing back and the look on his face. And then Mason, just so many pictures of him. I don't know if you remember that hat that he had. He loved that, like, was it a fedora, or I don't even know the
Yep.
name of the hat, the style of
Yeah.
the hat, but we went to LA for something. I think it was Universal maybe.
Yeah. Christmas that year, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. But him sitting, we went to some park and, like, below the Hollywood sign, and him sitting on a rock, and he's wearing that hat, and he just has the look on his face, and it's just like, those are the things that I remember. It's like those moments that we captured via the pictures, but it's not just about the picture, it's about the personality of the kid in those pictures.
Yeah. The other one for me with Cooper is the one with the butterfly.
Yeah.
He has a
Oh,
butterfly on his
I
shoulder
love
and
that
he's
one.
just like so excited by it.
Yeah.
Some park. This guy's not from Southern California. There's this park, there's a giant sign,
I
it
don't
says
know what it was called.
something Hollywood. Anyway, we digress.
Yes,
Okay,
as
so
we usually do.
yeah, that's good. I do think the birth order with the three of them totally applies. Um,
You know
Cooper
better than I do.
Cooper would tell us all the time that he is the middle child. But we've also tried to do stuff where we've done things alone with just Cooper. Obviously, easier with that, easier with Mason because they are the bookends. But we've definitely spent some time doing special things with each of them. So let's turn our attention to parenting wins and parenting things that we're still learning.
Not a fail, not a
Not
miss.
a fail because I feel like I am still learning, and maybe it's a lesson I'm learning over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I had one of those this week where um, there was a disappointment for one of the boys, and man, I wanted to fix it. Like, and I know that's a theme that keeps coming up for me in these, but I don't like to see them unhappy.
No, you don't.
It's really hard for me.
Yeah.
Um, I uh, this I think you mentioned on one of these the other day about we should talk about roles and how the roles show up at home. Let's talk about it with parenting roles. Who was the disciplinarian? Who was I don't know what other roles are there in parenting.
I don't know.
Okay, maybe neither of us. The disciplinarian,
No, that was me.
really?
Yeah, I tried, but I was blocked sometimes by you.
Well, I don't like to see them sad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, there's probably a million roles, right? Who's
Mhm.
the teacher? Who's the disciplinarian? Who's the, the caregiver? Who's the XYZ? And I was thinking about it at the beginning of this conversation, but I think we made a very conscious decision about how we wanted the relationship of our family to work. We did not, however, make conscious decisions about roles within the family other than that there would be no roles. Meaning, it wasn't up to you to change the diapers. It wasn't up to
Right,
me to, like, and I know that this isn't hopefully not a thing anymore, but like all the traditional stereotypes about how you parent, we didn't want to fit into any of
right.
those. It was because we did not want to create at all like an us versus them kind of thing with our family.
Mhm.
So I think that's why it's so hard to talk about roles because there was no assigned role. There was no, you always do this, I always do
Right.
this. We tried to, make sure that we shared all that.
Yeah, and I think another thing that goes to maybe a little insight into us is we also didn't want to be the Saturday morning clean the house people.
Yeah.
And so I feel like our kids never really did any chores.
No.
They would tell you they did.
They would tell you that they did in certain situations. Typically when I left for drill or whatever, there's a term in our family called drill mom. And whatever weekend I had drill, that was when somehow
It all kicked in.
it all kicked in and the house got cleaned and you just it was like a whirlwind.
You know where that comes from.
I don't
So the reason for that is because um I learned early on, right? I mean, I can't overstate our relationship doesn't really exist without kids in it. Like, we dated, we got married, but
Mhm.
we literally had Thatcher a minute later, it felt
Yeah.
like. And so we've always been parents, married people as parents. And then you left when Thatch was 2. So we were early in our marriage still. I was very scared when you were in Iraq. And how that played out for me was I knew how it would go. If something happened to you, they would show up at the doorstep in full uniform
Mhm.
and support systems would come in, people would be called, arrangements would be made, all of the things would happen. And so there would be a lot of freaking people in my house. And so I needed the house to be perfect whenever you weren't there. So you would leave and I would do any laundry that belonged to you because I figured if you died, I didn't want to find socks later. Like that felt overwhelming. So I got everything clean and put away. I did the same thing with the house just in case everybody
Someone
showed up
showed up
and
to your door and
yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, that's crazy talk, right? Like that's a little bit anxiety ridden and all of the things, but that was where it came from. And so then as the boys got older, it was like, how do we do this faster, better now? So I don't have to worry about it. And so we would do the full like, get it all done. But they didn't take it the same way I did, nor did they have the same fears that I had because I didn't share that with them. So they just became this thing called Drill Mom.
Yeah. Well, that's why stories like this are important,
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
getting that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking about what we've done well in parenting. Did we say anything?
I think we did.
Okay.
I feel like that point about not having the roles, I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
in the relationships, like, to me, those are the primary things. I think we've done some other things well, but, like, the big things.
Yeah. I um I love that they talk to us when they're stressed. Like,
Mhm.
I love that we're go-to people for them, maybe not the go-to person for them as they start to get into their own relationships, but we are in the early
We're
mix.
in the circle,
And
right?
I
We're in
really
the inner circle.
yeah, and that really is important to me.
Yeah, agreed.
Um, what's something that you are still learning as a parent?
I think how to read emotions, and that's been a constant struggle of mine. For whatever reason, I consider myself, I think, a very empathetic person, and I feel like I can read people pretty well, but somehow, in some cases, when it comes to our kids, I can't. Um, and what to me seems like, a fairly black and white situation probably has much deeper meaning or much deeper implication. And I can remember, and I can't remember the exact situation, but I do remember one time with Cooper when I just thought he was angry and being disrespectful, or I don't know what the right word would be, but I remember it was not good. And my reaction to it was even less good because what I didn't realize, and you pointed out, was there was a deeper emotion going on there. He was embarrassed. There was like something else there. And I didn't read that at all. And I really always had a hard time reading um, like when our kids were close to the edge.
At their limit.
Yeah, at their limit in some of those situations and some of those conversations, and I don't again, I don't know why. I
Yeah.
can see that really easily in other people. I can see that in meetings, I can see it in people that I meet, I can see it in friends. I mean, I feel like I'm better about that, but somehow when it comes to our kids, I get to be more black and white, and I miss the subtleties. And now I'm trying to be much better. I mean, I'm really like in interactions with them. I'm really, really trying to be super conscious, super empathetic to
Mhm.
try and figure that out. Because to me, that's the piece where I feel like I have not yet perfected that skill,
Mm.
and I need to keep working on that.
Yeah, I see that. One of the things that I think has been neat is as Mason's gotten older, you have been around more. When the boys,
That is neat.
no, I don't mean like that. I mean like, yes, no more deployments, right? Because you came
Hmm.
home on that last deployment because hold on. I've got to go back to, sorry, back in time. You went to Iraq twice. And so what we didn't talk about is how hard it was when you came back. And then you rebuilt a relationship with Thatcher. And then you built a new relationship with Cooper. And then you had to leave again. And that was really hard. And I think I remember you saying when you got back the second time that there were days when you felt like you still hadn't rebuilt with Coop.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, in his first when did I get back? '09.
Yeah.
So in his first 8 years of life, basically, not even that, 7.5 years of life,
Yeah.
I'd been gone for 2.5 of it,
3.
3 of it. I mean, so it was and again, kids change.
Yeah.
So I was gone a year the second time or just under a year, and he was different. And there was now new emotions and new thoughts and feelings. And I felt like I had to get back on that train. And I struggled with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that brought me to, so you got home, you missed my birthday. You came home on June 11th that year, and then we had Mason on June 18th. So, and you've been home since then, which is great. I mean, you've
Yep.
traveled for work and that type of thing, but that was the last deployment. But what's been neat about that, even beyond the no more deployments, you worked from home more. And so you weren't commuting
Hmm.
to the office. And so you were home when Mason got home.
Hmm.
And then, of course, COVID and now working from home again. That's a different relationship that you have with him than you did with the other two because you wouldn't get home till 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Yeah. So much different with him than it was with the other two. I mean, and he hasn't lived through any of those deployments. He hasn't lived through any of the things that the other two had to in those first few years.
Right.
So definitely a different dynamic there.
Yeah. For me, what's been great is I've gotten to go to school with all of the kids.
Yeah.
So I loved that. Thatch and Coop came up with me to Eniat, which was amazing and awesome. And I still am fortunate that Miles reminded me that we had a school and the kids could come with me. And then Mason went with, I guess they all went to Rockwell with me,
Hmm.
which was pretty awesome. And then Mace came to Hollywood Hill, which was not as fun being the principal's kid as being the teacher kid, but he's pretty adaptable.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I think that is pretty fun stuff that we've been talking about. I think about just how much fun we have as the five. And there are some times that are hilarious. And we have an episode coming up where we're going to talk about travel, but this is kind of a crossover moment
Oh.
where we had come on a trip down here to Arizona, I think. And Tim is the calm one in the relationship, and I can be the little more loud one. And we had flown in late at night and we were getting the rental car, and it was a mess. It was such a mess. Like,
It
they,
wasn't late at night. It was like early in the morning. It
yeah,
was like 1 or 2 in the morning for
they
whatever
gave us
reason.
the wrong car, then they gave us the right car, and everybody's tired. Everybody's in the car, and we go to like,
The paperwork was messed up.
yeah. We go to pull out of the parking lot at Sky Harbor, and the guy goes, paperwork and ID. And he like looked at it and said, oh, okay, Rick. And
No, he said, which one of you is Rick?
and you said, who the fuck is Rick? And those three boys, their eyes got so big. They're like, what happened to dad? Like, you broke dad. And I was like, I don't know. It was so stressful, but it has become such an iconic moment in our family.
Well, and the poor guy trying to check the paperwork too, when I said that, the look on his face, like, I don't know how to answer this question. One of you has to be Rick because Rick is the one on the paperwork.
Oh my God, it was so bad. So
Uh,
I just think of that because
I felt like we were hostages in the parking garage. Like I literally was thinking, we are never going to get out of this parking garage, never going to get to our hotel. We are trapped here forever in the Sky Harbor rental car parking lot.
oh my gosh, that's so funny. But I just think that it's that type of thing. Like We don't have a lot of regular traditions, but we have funny things like that that we
Mhm.
did as the 5 of us that we all harken back to,
Yeah.
and I love that.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, awesome. Okay, well, we are gonna get towards the end of this episode, so mini moment of the week. Um, Anything sweet or loving or wonderful coming from the children that you wanna talk about?
Oh, geez. Mason's card.
Yeah.
So Mason, our youngest, gave me a birthday card recently, and it was such a thoughtful choice of card. And then the words that he wrote inside of it, like it wasn't just, you know, all the card sentiment and then just signing his name to the bottom. It was all of these other words, and it was just a like, I'll keep that card forever.
Yeah, and speaking your love language, right? He wanted to spend time with you,
Yeah, connection.
which is so
Yeah,
amazing.
good for
And
you.
for me, it was, just an email exchange with Thatch, and I ended it with clear eyes, full hearts, and his only response was, "Can't lose, mama." And I just love that it goes back to that, right? Like, we built these memories. We would watch fun shows together, like Friday Night Lights,
Mhm.
and for a while, we had the W sticker up above the door, and we would all hit it as we left.
Yeah,
Um, and it just in small moments can recapture how I was feeling when they were littler, which is really fun.
yeah.
Okay, Cooper's the middle child. We didn't say one about him.
Coop's had a tough week.
Yeah, I got a little bit disappointed, but we were still in the loop on it, which was really great,
Yeah,
which is
definitely.
really cool. And we'll all get to be together again in December, which will be fantastic. Coop was going to get to come home and his plans got changed, which was kind of a bummer because he was also going to be a guest on the podcast, but we'll have to wait and do that a different day.
Yeah.
So we'll get there. Okay, so the question that we had for everybody this week was, what is one parenting win or fail that you'll never forget? And making sure that you're having that conversation with somebody who matters in your life. It'd be fun to ask the kids that question as well.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. So if you are a parent, maybe ask your kids. If you are somebody who is not a parent, maybe think about what's something you've learned from being someone's child, because that's a pretty universal feeling. Okay, so anything else for today?
Go Devils.
Go Devils. We're headed to volleyball. We hope that you all have a great week and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.